What a joy to gather together and reflect on the Word of God even this morning, amidst the situation that surrounds us. This day here, I would want to reflect from Matthew chapter 6, from verse 25 to verse 34. And our theme this day is hope amid worry. Okay? Matthew chapter 6, from verse 25 to 34. Hope amid worry. I want to begin by asking us a question. Have you ever been at a point in your life where you felt you had hit a ceiling? Have you ever been at a point where you have felt like you hit a wall? A point where you felt like you were being pulled all around you, where there were opposing forces that were pushing and pulling all around you. In Matthew chapter 6, from verse 25 to 34, Jesus is speaking to his disciples, and this is part of the Sermon on the Mount. And 5 times he uses the word anxious. 5 times he uses the word worry. In verse 25, he says, "For this reason I say to you, do not be anxious." In verse 27, he says to them, "And which of you, by being anxious," he asks, "can add a single hair?" In verse 28, he says, "And why are you anxious?" In verse 31, he says, "Do not be anxious." And in verse 34, he says, "Therefore, do not be anxious." And so 5 times in the text today, Jesus challenges the disciples and he tells them, do not be anxious. And so today, I would want to encourage us and spur us. In the midst of COVID-19, in the midst of the situation that continues to surround us, do not be anxious. Let's have hope. And as I think about anxiety, I think about the Greek and how they used the word anxiety. I picture for the Greek how they actually meant when they used the word anxiety, pointing to the fact that there were different forces that were pulling you. Probably one force was pulling your arm, another force was pulling the other arm, another force pulling the foot, different opposing forces that were pulling you, not in one direction, but different directions. And so Jesus' disciples, as he tells them, do not be anxious, this was the picture that came to mind. They were anxious about their food. They were anxious about clothing. They were anxious about shelter. And so Jesus speaks unto them and he tells them, do not be anxious. He tells them, do not worry. He tells them, do not despair. Reason is that you cannot actually say you have hope and at the same time have worry. You cannot say you have love and at the same time have hatred. You cannot say you have hope and at the same time you have doubt. Those two cannot actually coexist. Day by day, someone has said we carry around us worry. Day by day, we carry around us worry. And there are people who right now, as you listen to me, you are carrying worry. You are carrying worry from the past. You have an unhappy memory that is around you and it's lingering around your mind. Probably it is guilt from the past. As you think about something, guilt just descends upon you. For some of us, it is worry for the present. It is a worry for the everyday life. And you're thinking, how will I make it through the day? And you're worried for today, the present. And for some, it is worry for the future. Worry for the future, saying, what does the future hold for me? What does the future hold for my business? What does the future hold for my children? And one way or the other, moving around with worry. And so all in this text, we are challenged and encouraged not to worry. And I'll give 5 reasons as why we should not worry. Number 1, in verse 25, we see that worry is baseless. He says, for this reason I say to you, do not be anxious for your life as to what you shall eat, shall drink, or for your body, as it is what you shall actually put on. Is it not life more than food and the body more than clothing? Worry many times is baseless. We worry many times for things we cannot change. We worry for things that may not actually make a difference. Many times we worry for things that you cannot change. Right now you are worried of the people in Mutukura, the people in Busia, and you're worried, so worried about them. Probably you cannot actually change that. And that is causing you to have sleepless nights. And so Jesus is telling us that this worry many times is actually not founded. You worry over something small and it becomes so big. And suddenly, most times, we worry about the wrong things. The second thing we see in verse 26, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow, they do not reap, they don't gather in barns, yet your Father feeds them. Think about the birds. If a bird cannot worry, then who are you to worry? What Christ is pointing out to is that worry is unnatural. Worry is unnatural. Worry is something that you learn. You see from someone else that is worrying and you actually learn worry. It is only human beings who worry. Birds don't worry. Cows don't worry. Goats don't worry. Human beings worry. Worrying is something that is unnatural. It is unnatural. We humans are the only beings that actually worry. In verse 27, we see, and which of you, by being anxious, can add a single cubit to his lifespan? Worrying is unhelpful. Nothing changes when you worry. Nothing changes. It's like a rocking chair. A rocking chair gives you this deception that you're moving forward and backwards. As you lean back and forth, it gives you this impression that you are actually moving. Yet in real sense, you are not actually moving. Think about people that are worrying about their past, the guilt that they've had. You cannot probably change what you did in the past in a way. Probably you're worrying for the present. And with your worry, you cannot change what is happening. Probably you're worrying about the future and using all the energy, positive energy, to actually worry for the future. It is draining you of your strength. Worry is unhelpful. The third thing we see in verse 30 is that worry is unnecessary. But if God so arrays the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown in the furnace, how much will he not do so for you? How much will he not do so for you? Worry is unnecessary. You are so valuable to God, so valuable that he desires to take care of you. You are not God. Many times we attempt to take the place of God. We attempt to take the seat of God and actually take his position. If you look through the word anxiety, right in the middle of that word is the letter I. In anxiety, in worry, is the desire for me to sit on the throne, for me to trust in myself, for me in pride to actually take over. You cannot change anything. The fifth and last thing we see in verse 32, Jesus speaks and he compares worry, anxiety to unbelief. He says, for all these things, the Gentiles eagerly seek. And so among the Jews, the Gentiles were considered outcasts. The Gentiles were considered people who were out. But yet, he says, even the Gentiles seek for this. It is being compared to the Gentiles. Worry is a sign of unbelief. It is a sign of mistrust. God is God, and God knows what is best for you. You cannot be God. And so amidst the situation that we're in, I challenge us to choose hope over worry. I challenge us to choose faith over fear. I challenge us as much as possible not to worry. Worry does not change anything. What worry does is that worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It's not going to take it away. It is only going to drain your strength for today. It is going to suck out all your strength. As I think about Uganda, I think about the times that we have gone through. Think about the 1970s when Idi Amin Dada ruled this country and he killed the likes of Janan Luwum and the church went underground. People had lost hope. They were in despair. He'd proclaimed himself life president. Yet the Lord still came through. The church thrived and came through stronger in the 80s. In the 80s, we saw HIV/AIDS come and it came like a flood, swept over this nation. But yet the church remained firm. That situation later on went down. HIV/AIDS reduced in this country. People were despairing, thinking of Silim is going to finish them. In the 90s, we saw LRA come. And when we saw LRA come, many from the north were discouraged. Many had lost hope. They didn't ever think LRA would come to an end. It wasn't long before LRA ended. We saw Ebola come to this nation, and many were discouraged. That Ebola ended. It killed many, yes, it did. But somewhere, somehow, we came through that. Even amidst COVID-19, we have the hope. We have the confidence that we will make it through. So I challenge us with a posture of humility, with a posture of trust in God, to choose hope amidst worry. And this could be in your past, could be in your present, and could be in the future. We choose hope and not worry. The Lord bless you and the Lord keep you.